Hello, well it's day 98 of Sydney's lockdown and it's Locktail 35, the Cosmopolitan, a very famous cocktail. But what you might not know is that the Cosmo that we all know and love or are over started life a lot earlier, in fact before 1934. It appeared in Charles Muller's book Pioneers of Mixing at Elite Bars, 1903 to 1933. He created a huge book with over 1,000 recipes that him and 3 other colleagues had collected in pre-prohibition, working in more than 30 bars across the United States. And there were no less than, I think it was 4, or it might have even been 5, cocktails in that book that had the name Cosmopolitan in them. But one of them in particular, the Cosmopolitan Daisy, is pink in colour, as were a couple of the others. Completely different to the Cosmopolitan that you saw in Sex in the City, but definitely one that would have been quite popular in the time. And because we're exploring Prohibition to World War II cocktails at the moment, I'm going to try and make the 1934 version at the same time that I do the more contemporary 1998 to 2005 Cosmopolitan version that was about at the time that Carrie Bradshaw and the Sex in the City show was on. So effectively giving you a choice between the two if you go to the website and have a look at the recipes. So let's start with the old 1934 Cosmopolitan Daisy. Now it's a gin-based cocktail, not a vodka-based cocktail, and it called for 45 ml of gin, or at least for the proportions I'm doing, which are a little bit larger in modern day. So 45 mils, I'm using this Tasmanian gin that's got a little bit of kumquat notes in it. So 45 mils of the gin, 10 mils of triple sec. Now I've left my bottle of Cointreau somewhere else, so I'm using 10 mils of Grand Marnier instead. Also a very lovely and original type of triple sec, but use whatever triple sec you have. Now it has 20 mils of freshly squeezed lemon juice, and it also has 15 mils of raspberry syrup. Now I did a make-at-home raspberry syrup for the Clover Club cocktail, and I've used it in a couple of others, so the recipe for making your own raspberry syrup is already there. I'll also put it under the this Cosmo version as well. So looking for 15 mils of raspberry syrup, and that's going to give us our pink colour. Now if you want, you can add some bitters. I think I put in the recipe that if you've got rhubarb bitters from one of our earlier cocktails, give the rhubarb bitters a go. It'll just add a little bit of extra dimension and bitterness to it. But for the sake of seeing what this 1934 Cosmopolitan Daisy would have looked like, and if you make it, you can see what it would have tasted like. I'm going to, now that I've cooled that down, and you can shake this if you want, but I've pre-strained all of the citrus, so I'm effectively getting the same result. And then this 1934 version garnished with a lemon spiral. So there we have a 1934 Cosmo. Not a bad drink at all. I think you'd be very pleased with that, especially if you're not a cranberry fan and you like the botanicals in gin. You're going to be pretty happy with that. So let's move on to the current, the contemporary Cosmopolitan. Now there's a lot of people, as you can expect with a successful cocktail like this, there's a lot of people putting their hand out for credit. I've put a link to a great site that's been exploring the history of the Cosmopolitan since 2006. It's a bit of a long read, but if you're interested in the history, have a look at that link. There's the Dale de Groff recipe out there. There's a bunch of others. His was made more red to sort of match the colour of Sex in the City cocktails that you would have seen if you watched and loved the show. I'm using pretty close to that recipe with, again, a couple of minor changes, which is sort of my prerogative, I guess. So I'm going to use vodka. Now you can use citron-infused vodka. A lot of recipes call for that. If you really want more of a citrus flavour, go with that. Otherwise, I think basically the important point is here is that you're using reasonably good quality vodka. So 45 mils, that's our dominant alcohol. Then we're going for slightly more triple sec than the 1934 version, going for 15 mils of triple sec here. Some recipes call for a full shot, and again, that really depends on how citrusy you want to make it. And then, of course, cranberry juice for the colour. Some of those recipes that call for those larger amounts of alcohol call for less cranberry juice. The problem with that is you don't get the deep red in the cocktail. So I'm going for a full 45 mils. If you've got a big glass and you're happy to have it a little bit more fruit juice and a little bit less alcohol, you can make it 2 full shots and go to 60 mils. But I'm putting 45 mils in the recipe, and then 15 mils of freshly squeezed lime juice. And then I've got a couple of shots, a couple of dashes of orange bitters. I'm using the Angostura orange bitters, not their regular bitters here, for 3 dashes. If you're lucky enough to have the Fee Brothers No. 6 orange bitters, use that. It's brilliant, brilliant bitters. There we have it. That's the more contemporary version of the Cosmopolitan. Just get it nice and cold, 10 to 15 seconds. Shake if you can. Get a little bit stuck there, and then just to I guess go through again, I filtered the citrus first, but if you want to sort of go through the process of double straining it, it does make the top a little bit finer, and it also makes sure that you catch any ice chips from a shaken cocktail. There's our sort of nice light pink colour from a contemporary Cosmopolitan. Now the normal garnish for this is basically some flamed orange zest. Now, if you're going to flame some orange zest, just warm it up a little bit, get it ready, and then you can just get that to, probably saw that one there. You get a little bit of a burnt orange flavour to the cocktail. Now you can either add the orange rind in or not. I've managed to get a little bit of match smoke onto that, so I'm going to defer to a fresher piece, just not to affect the flavour too much. And there we have it, the very famous, made very famous by the Sex and the City TV show, Cosmo. And I think, as they said in the films, when they were talking about why did they stop drinking them, it was because everybody else did. And I think that's largely what's happened to this cocktail. It got too popular for its own good. A lot of bartenders wanted to stop making them. You don't see them around as much as you would have in the early 2000s. Which is sort of a shame, because it's a pretty good cocktail. For me, they're pretty much parody. I don't know that the newer one improved a great deal on the 1934 one. If you use your own fresh raspberry syrup, you're going to get at least an equal colour between the two of them. Really down to personal preference. And if you if like me, you've still got time on your hands in lockdown, why not make them both and try them head to head? You can even have a look on some of the websites that I'm going to link to in the recipe for some other variants as well. Anyway, it's Friday night in lockdown. Go and make yourself a cocktail and have a great weekend. Bye for now.